Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Critical Thoughts. I'm your host, Braxton Smith, and today is the 27th of March, 2018. And today we're going to talk about how Trump just played some seven-dimensional chess with the globalists, and to sum it all up, checkmate globalists. So just to give you a quick rundown on this Omnibus bill that he just signed off on. Granted, it wasn't exactly what he wanted it to be. There wasn't any DACA. And there wasn't any wall action that he'd been talking about. But we've been assured that the increase in military funding is going to pay for all that, because $1 trillion a year budget isn't quite enough to handle that. So military is going to handle that on the border. But just to give you an idea of some of the things that the money will be spent on, and we're gonna roll into some more of the implications later on what that means so far as his presidency, as we did have a post talking about how this would define his presidency, at least in my opinion. So just some of the things, and I can't narrow it down to any one thing. There's just so much garbage on here. $20 million for countering foreign state propaganda. $2.696 billion for international disaster assistance. $25 million for international religious freedom. $10 million for disadvantaged Egyptian students. I'm just like reading these off the top, by the way. I can't even really lock into any single good one, but also know there was $500 million towards Planned Parenthood. That's going to do really good for the conservative vote there. So it's going to talk a little bit too about that's going to mean for the coming up 2018 midterm election. It's not good, obviously. But I wanted to put this in perspective, though. We're talking about $1.4 trillion that was just dropped. Just to give you an idea, every man, woman, and child in America will be paying $4,000 of this. And every taxpayer, if you just take it into account as so far as taxpayers, it would be $9,551 per taxpayer to fund. Let's find another fun one here. $5 million for Vietnam Education Foundation grants. This bill, just to give you an idea of how savory it is, was pushed forward mostly by Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. But it's okay, Republicans. Paul Ryan signed off on it as well. It was really a come together moment for the Republicans and Democrats, and they only had a split moment to decide on this. I mean, it was over 2,000 pages. I want to say 22 and some change, 100 pages, this bill. I mean, we had a whole country put together in 13 pages or something, the Constitution. But this bill, spending, not, I would say your child's future, but we're currently $20 trillion in debt. I think we just hit 21, and we'll be hitting 22 before the year's out. So at this point, I think we're talking about your grandchildren's future. But just think for a moment, what could you have done with $9,500? And think for a moment, how are you going to pay for $9,500? I always hear people complaining that the corporations are driving the costs of everything up, and the fact of the matter is that it's not them that's driving up the costs. It's the government just took $9,500 from you to give $6.25 million to the Ambassador Fund for Cultural Preservation. I mean, that's the reason why it's becoming so unaffordable to live. And the fact of the matter, too, is that we haven't even seen this in its totality. We haven't been asked to pay the piper yet. This has just begun. We're going to see increases. And one of the issues I have with Trump on this one is, he's been so great, and it go figure. As soon as I begin to endorse him and say, you know what, I probably will vote for him in 2020, he goes and does this. Because the whole tax cut thing, that's great. I love that. But unfortunately, you have to also cut spending. And the fact is, he not only cut taxes, he increased spending. So how the hell are we paying for this? And we're not. We're racking up debt here. Federal Reserve is cranking down on the interest rates, granted, but at the end of the day, our debt is just increasing exponentially. I've heard Alex Jones come on, and he's an entertaining fella. I thought for sure he sounded like he was actually jumping off the Trump train, but him and all his delusional grandeur is insisting that, yes, this is seven-dimensional chess. he's running not our government into debt, but rather the globalists into debt. I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics he's performing there, but at his gold medal level at least. So, I start to wonder at this point, getting back to the bipartisan effort of this bill, there's this big schism in America right now. And you have the statists, the people that want government to just control everything. Democrats cover that in its totality. And the Republicans swear that they're against that, but prove with this bill that that's not the case. That they are absolutely no different than Democrats. They want to spend us into bankruptcy just like the Democrats. So, what's the alternative? You get a point to where you have this growing minority, soon to become the majority of the people, they're just sick and tired of the government just taking over and just ruining our lives. They're enslaving us to debt. And who's representing us? Who's representing the soon-to-be silent majority? The Republican Party doesn't do it. Like, why am I going to vote Republican now? Why would I go vote for this guy that says he was going to drain the swamp? He's different. He's a businessman. He knows how to run things like Solyndra, basically. Solyndra had a businessman running it. Bankrupt of America had a businessman running it. Shitty Bank, we just talked about that recently in another article, had a businessman running it. But you know what they all have in common? They all depended on the government for a bailout and then use that money to have a little golden parachute to escape it all and watch it all burn. And that's where we are right now with Trump. I haven't completely written him off, I'll say that much. I will still say, contrary to what Alex would say with his false dichotomy, no, I wouldn't have gone with Hillary Clinton. I have no regrets for the write-in that I did in the recent election. But no, I will not be voting for Trump at this point. So, got to ask ourselves, where's the alternative? Is there an alternative to this Republican, Democratic? They're all the same. Republicans are going to eat shit in this midterm. Nobody's going to go vote. The Democrats obviously are going to vote because somebody has to stop Trump, right? They'll say. That's what they're told to say. So we're definitely going to see them fail in the midterm. I can promise you that. Now, so far as alternatives, I wouldn't just, shit all over this guy and not provide an alternative. This is an alternative I've been wanting to get to for a while now. And it looks like we might actually be able to talk with him. But I've been looking into the Libertarian Party so much so that I'm actually now a delegate with the Libertarian Party. I'm seeing a huge movement in it. We had an issue with it being co-opted, and hence Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, which are just like some wash-up Republicans, basically. Those people are gone. We're looking at a renewal of the Libertarian Party, someone to actually represent the people that don't want to see us spent into oblivion, a future for our children, or at least our grandchildren. So we're going to have a candidate on here. Hopefully soon I'll be doing an interview with him. And gentleman from the Libertarian Party, Adam Kokesh, he's running for no president. I'll give you more detail. I would give you more details, but I don't want to spoil it. It's going to make for a very interesting episode. Highly recommend you look into it. That being said, I guess that's all I got for you now. So, thanks for tuning in to Critical Thoughts. As usual, breaking through the white noise, bringing you the media that matters.